Hi everybody, Amber here. Welcome back to In Conversation with ATF. Now today, I'm wearing the perfect attire, my Garfield pajamas from Primark, because I'm talking to a very special guest. It's not Frank Welker, but it's someone just as good. Trust me, right? This guy's credits are just absolutely amazing. You may know him as the voice director for Nickelodeon All Star Brawl 1 and 2, Dreamworks All-Star Kart Racing. Oh, by the way, Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl. I don't. This is getting the second one for Christmas, so yeah, just sit tight. So DreamWorks All-Star Car Racing, SpongeBob SquarePants: The Cosmic Shake, Nickelodeon Kart Races 3, Slime Speedway, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Shredder's Revenge, which I have on my Xbox as a digital copy. Transformers Devastation, absolutely goated game. I can't play it on my Xbox One, Xbox Series X, unfortunately, it's not compatible. But hey, it's nice to have, I suppose. White Knight Chronicles, Saints Row 2, Scooby Doo 2, Destroy All Humans, Monster House, The Polar Express, and the Legend of Korra and Avatar: The Last Airbender games. And that are those are just some of the video games that this incredible man has voice directed and worked with so many people on my wardrobe. So Frank, Peter, I think Grey Delisle, yeah. Oh, the Turtles here, Tara Strong, Jason Marsden as well, because he voice directed the Chuck franchise. So this is cool. This is cool. I am among royalty here. He's also voice directed the children's TV show Shimmer and Shine, which I think still airs on Nick Jr. I don't know, but my guess. However, we're here to talk about everything and anything voiceover related with the amazing, my guest, Douglas Carrigan. Hi. That didn't really make much sense. I'm so sorry. I just had a bunch of words spew out my mouth. I was just like, my guest, we're talking. Yeah.
That's all right. It was a great intro. Great intro. I love big intros.
Thank you. But honestly, as I said before, I am very honored to be speaking to you right now because you've voice directed so many of my favorite people in the world. So I am, wow. Hi.
Hi. Well, and that's what I was saying to you. It's, when you reached out and I started looking at all of your podcasts, I'm like, yep, know her. Yeah, know her. Yeah, know him. All you like, she's interviewed all my favorite people who I've worked with. It's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of the greats that you've interviewed. It's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah, so those notable mentions do include, of course, all the four Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So you got Cam Clark, Townsend Coleman, Barry Gordon, Rob Paulson, and also he's not a Ninja Turtle. Well, I mean, I think he was in one of the games, but Nolan North as well.
Yeah, Nolan North was Krang and the Normans in the 2012-2017 series. So
Ah,
I worked with Nolan. Actually, here's a little tidbit about Nolan North. The
ooh.
very first video game Nolan North ever did, I directed. So
Wow.
yeah, it's amazing. And I remember the first time I worked with Nolan, I'm like, this guy's great. And I was like, what have you been doing? He's like, oh, I was doing it. He was on a soap opera. Did you know that? Nolan was on a soap opera.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I did. Yes. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yes. I can't remember the name
Yeah.
of it, but
Yeah.
he was. Oh my gosh.
And
Um.
then suddenly I'm like, this guy's great. And then he was a good guy too. And yeah. And then he just took off, man. Nolan took off. So yeah, it was called Maximo. It was
Uh,
yeah. And it was, that was, oh my gosh, 2003, I think, maybe. I can't remember.
wow.
2002, 2003. Can't remember. Anyway, yeah. So that's kind
Wow.
of cool. So Nolan and I have been working on games together since he started working on games. So it's kind of fun.
Wow, that's really
Yeah.
cool to
Yeah.
hear. And you've worked
Yeah.
with, I'm looking at the list that you sent me. Of course, you've got Tanya Gennady, Josh Keaton, Transformers Prime people, David Kay, Debbie Derryberry, Brian Drummond, Richard Horvitz, Phil Lamar, Andre Sogbuto, Cam Clark. I mentioned Cam before, but I've got to mention him again because of how much of a sweetheart he is. Jennifer Hale, Chris Edgerly, Vanessa Marshall, and a lot more. There are some who I'm planning to get for my podcast, but I'm in the works. So Jason Marsden is one of them. So
Yeah,
yeah.
It's funny you mentioned TAC. TAC and the Power of Juju. It was a game company that had been tasked with, from Nickelodeon, make a game that we can make into a series, as opposed to the other way around. So
Oh right.
they had this game already. They had pitched it. In fact, I think they had pitched it around to a few other studios. So I was the original casting director on it as well. We cast Jason. He was perfect for it, and Patrick Warburton as well, who was just phenomenal. And Rob Paulson as well was in that, was in the original Tak and Power Juju games. So it was a great cast. It was really was. And then when they did the series, of course, Nickelodeon took over and they kind of recast some things and changed some things, and which is understandable. That's what they always do. But yeah, but Jason was in that original Tak and the Power of Juju, and I used to work with him quite a bit for some other things because he's a really talented, nice guy. So
Yeah, definitely.
that was a while ago. Haven't seen
So
Jason in a few years actually, but oh well.
I haven't seen him since last December. That's when I met him in person. Was
Oh,
he? Did he move? Did he move over to the Tak TV series as the voice of Tak?
no, there was a. I'm trying to
Oh,
remember the guy that did the series. Because I did actually end up doing a game based on the series as well, and they had changed some of the characters around.
hmm.
I'm blanking on the gentleman who played Tak in the series.
I'm having a look. Hal Sparks.
Oh yes, that's it. This sounds correct. Yeah. So how was Tak in the series? But yeah, I mean, you know how it works. It's like same thing as making the movie from the game or anything like
Yeah.
that. They want to change it up a bit, make some changes and recast. So because yeah, it was a phenomenal cast in the game. I mean, the Patrick Warburton sessions I would just laugh my head off because he was so good. He was so funny. Patrick was a funny
I was
guy.
meant to meet Patrick a few years back at a Comic Con, but he cancelled. Then I was meant to meet him at another Comic Con the year after. He then cancelled that one. So
Oh, that's too bad. Yeah, I started working with Patrick. I used to be at Disney Character Voices. I was a voiceover
Oh,
director
really?
for them. Yeah, so
I
we
did
that's
not know
that's
that.
yeah, that was kind of where I cut my teeth as a VO director because little known story, I actually started out life as an actor. I was a performer when I started out. I was a theater
Hmm.
guy.
Hmm.
Trained in the theater. I worked in the theater. I was doing that, and then I kind of transitioned. I wanted to transition to more film and TV, so I thought, I should go work for Disney, go work for a studio, right? And I
Yeah.
grew up. I grew up on the wonderful world of Disney. I grew up seeing Disney, movies at my church on Saturday afternoons, and so I went to work for Disney, and it transitioned into being able to work for character voices. So character voices basically controlled all the ancillary. Anytime the characters needed to do anything other than the film or the TV show. So my day to day was Mickey, Minnie, Goofy, Donald, Tigger, Winnie the Pooh, Donald, all these characters, these amazing, amazing actors, but including all the ancillary for series as well. So Patrick Warburton was the Buzz Lightyear in the Buzz Lightyear series when they first did it after the movie came out. Tim Allen wasn't the voice of Buzz Lightyear. So yeah, so Patrick and I had worked together a bunch. Yeah, he's a hockey fan. I'm a hockey fan. In fact, I think like our birthdays are like a couple of months apart or something like that. We're the same age. So yeah, he was a good guy. I worked with Patrick quite a bit, but then not so much in recent years. But
Oh, right. I
got to
see.
work with all kinds of interesting people over there.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. What projects did you work on when you worked for Disney character voices?
So like I said, most of it is ancillary, and that's kind of where I cut my teeth with that whole vibe of taking characters from a movie or a TV show and then putting them into product and casting sound alikes and things like that. So basically, look, any video game that was done based on the movie somewhere between 97 or 8 and 2000. When did I leave? I left the beginning of 2002.
Ah,
Uh,
right.
I mean, I'm trying to remember like the bigger titles that were coming out when I was around would have been like Emperor's New Groove, Lilo and Stitch, things like that. But then again, there was also all the other series stuff that was going on, right?
Yeah.
So, like Darkwing Duck and things like that. Actually, one of my greatest days in the booth was the day I got to work with June Foray. I
You
I
work with
was
Dreamworks.
yeah. Well, look, and
Wow.
you get it. So I grew up on Rocky and Bullwinkle. That was my
Yeah.
favorite show.
June and Bill Scott.
And
Wow.
I mean, when June Foray was coming in, it might as well have been, fill in biggest A-list actor name here. Like I was so nervous. I'm like, it's June Foray? It's June Foray? What am I gonna do? Anyway, she was so lovely. We just sat and talked for a while first because the Rocky and Bullwinkle movie had just come out.
Yeah.
Remember they did the live action one, and
Yeah.
she had a cameo in that, doing some stuff, and did the voice. But anyway, oh, just lovely. And I was like, oh my, like it's like I'm literally sitting next to royalty here.
That's so
Anyway, So yes, there was some. There's always days like that, right, where you're just like, oh, great, and just so lovely. She was such a lovely, lovely woman. But very,
Oh,
very lucky to have worked with her. Yeah.
yeah, very. I was gonna say because the way you said Darkwing Duck made me think you were gonna say Jim Cummings.
Oh well, Jim was every day. Jim was Winnie the Pooh and Tigger, right? Like
Yeah.
Jim was in the booth. I mean, the amount of Winnie the Pooh and Tigger stuff that was going on, games, toys,
Mm-hmm.
theme park shows, ice shows, anything that was recorded. Some commercials, things like that. We actually did redub. There was a Winnie the Pooh movie that had been recorded with this interim cast. I forget which one it was in the 70s, and it was a single cast that had never been done before or after.
Mm-hmm.
So later on, as the newer cast was coming in, and Jim was really establishing as the new voice of Winnie the Pooh and Tigger and all of the other gang that was coming on, they decided we should redo this movie with those voices to really sort of establish the brand. So I redubbed. I basically directed a redub of one of the Winnie the Pooh movies, but with Jim and the new cast. Which was kind of cool. But yeah, so yeah, Jim was in all the time. Jim could literally sit at the mic and be every single character in the Hundred Acre Wood in a single sentence without
Wow.
stopping. And he used to have these great arguments between Winnie the Pooh and Tigger and Christopher Robin and this and that and Owl and I don't know. He was amazing. Jim was amazing. Yeah.
Wow. That's so
Yeah.
lovely to
Yeah, it was always
hear.
fun. And the other cool thing about it, when I was working at Disney,
Mm-hmm.
I had younger nieces and nephews.
Oh,
So
really?
they benefited from literally getting phone calls on the right day if it was their birthday from Mickey or Minnie or Winnie the Pooh or Tigger or Cinderella or Belle or Ariel or whoever, right? They literally,
Mm.
'cause I'd be in the booth, I'm like, oh, it's my niece's birthday. Hey, can we give her a call? Like, yeah, call her, call her. And anyway, so my nieces and nephews grew up literally speaking with all of the characters at all the time. They were
Wow.
I was their favorite uncle.
Coolest uncle.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yes.
I asked what projects you'd worked on because I was wondering because I know you named all those characters, so obviously that was like the golden era. So you had like Wayne Allwine and Lucy Taylor, and like I was wondering, have you ever worked with Corey Burton?
Oh gosh, yeah. Corey
Oh,
just
I knew you. I
Oh,
kind
of
of knew.
course. Yeah, Corey. Oh my gosh. Some of the funnest sessions I ever did. Corey Burton and Tress McNeil were Chippendale.
Yeah, they
And
were. Yeah, they
yeah,
still
so
are, I
we
think.
would and we would it would be Verispeed live, right? So you could hear the voice live as you were recording, but oh my gosh, some of the funniest sessions I've ever been in my life. Like you couldn't breathe because they would just start, going back and forth and getting off script and being, silly and whatever. Oh my gosh, like just brilliant and hilarious. But Corey's like, as Corey does a lot of the sound alike stuff.
Yeah.
um, the
Mm-hmm.
haunted mansion voice. Those Corey is phenomenal at the old greats, like the Don Pardo kind of guys.
Yeah.
The old great announcers, and plus he's the Captain Hook sound alike. He's
He's Ludwig von Drake.
Ludwig von Drake sound alike. But it's like it's flawless. Like you put him up
Yeah.
against the original, and you're like, I don't know which one it is. His ear is so amazing. Corey would show up for the right session with the right mic. He was like, "Well, I brought this mic because that was the mic they would have used in
That's
1965 when they
classic Corey.
recorded the original." And, oh my gosh, yeah, it was brilliant. Yeah,
Yeah.
Corey is like lights out brilliant, like just
I did
amazing.
have the opportunity to interview him in 2020 for my Bill Scott documentaries we were talking about before, because I interviewed a lot of people for that. Corey was one of them. And we spoke for 6 hours.
Oh, I
6 hours until the early hours of the morning, my time. Oh my
Oh yeah,
gosh.
well he's a voiceover historian. Like I mean, Corey literally knows like the entire history of VO and animation, and especially from the VO
Yeah,
standpoint.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
he's a walking encyclipedia of knowledge. Yeah. So that doesn't surprise me at all that you could talk for 6 hours. Not at all. Yeah.
Yeah, bless him. I do miss him a lot. I haven't spoken
Yeah.
to him in a long time. Long story, but that's for another day. What was I gonna say? I was gonna say something, then it just completely just went on my head, and I was like, what am I gonna say? Was it something to do with that? It'll come back to me.
Disney, but we were talking about Disney and we were talking about some of that stuff. So I don't know, it might have had something to do with that.
Maybe, yeah. I think it was something to do with Corey, but I can't remember. I think it's just there. We used to keep in touch, and he's also autistic, so that also hence the knowledge that he has in his head.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was the thing I was going to say. I was told this at TF Nation by one of the staff members who had got him for it was for like a Transformers animated redo, like a lost script that they actually got the cast to re-record. At the time, Corey didn't have a home studio. This was before COVID, so the TF Nation people booked him a studio in LA for him to go record at. And then he asked, "Do you have this specific microphone?" And they said, I'm not sure, but I can try and check for you." And he's like, "Could you please? I think we do. Could you please check if you have this specific microphone, because this is the exact microphone that I used to record as Megatron for Transformers Animated." I was like,
That,
"Wow, oh
that's
my
great.
gosh."
I'm surprised he didn't just say, "I've got one. I'll bring it with me," right? Because
Yeah,
he had a
yeah,
box of mics. So yeah,
yeah,
yeah, that's Corey. Then that's how. But that's amazing though. Like you want that specificity. Like you really
yeah,
do. Like you appreciate that so much.
yeah,
It's being picky, but being picky for a very good reason, right? So yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. That doesn't surprise me at all. It's very funny. I love
Yeah,
that.
definitely. And another talented voice actor who is personally, well, how could you tell he's my favorite? Frank Welker. What, have you got any good Frank Welker stories from working with him
Well,
maybe?
it's interesting too because Frank Welker was also one of those guys. The first time I'm like, I'm gonna work with Frank Welker, like, and it's not just the Scooby Doo stuff. I grew up, and remember I was telling you earlier, I grew up. I'm a Disney kid, right? Like I grew up in a world
Yeah,
full of Disney. So there was
yeah.
a series of movies with Kurt Russell that were made, live action movies in the '60s, early '70s. The
Yes.
Dexter Riley movies, right? Computer wore tennis shoes, the strongest man in the world, and now
Yeah.
you see
Now
me,
you
now you
see him, now you don't.
yeah. Wow, you're amazing. I love it. You're amazing.
Seen them
And
all.
and Frank is one of the Mayfield College kids. Like he's one of the group and that hangs out, right? So he was in
Yeah.
those. So that to me was like amazing enough. Not only the fact that he was the original Fred, right, in
I
Scooby Doo,
know.
which
I still
also
is.
yeah, well, I know, right? That's what that I it's so funny. I'll tell people that I'm like, like that's it. Like there's been one Fred. They're like, no, no way. Nah. Because I mean Frank, obviously Frank is older than me, but his youthful voice, like the fact that his voice has been able to keep that youthful sound is amazing, Not all of us can hang on to that. So yeah, so Frank just that, and I remember the first time we started gabbing about the Dexter Riley movies and all of that, because then I started when I was working at Disney, and I started walking around the studio. I'm like, wait, this is Mayfield College. That's like, and it would because they just shot it. There used to be a little back lot at Disney, which they got rid of
Yeah.
in the '90s when they built all the other buildings. But even without the back lot, like they would literally shoot it just outside. They would just use the very buildings that were Disney buildings as Mayfield College, right? And the outside little cafeteria area and stuff like that. So that was really exciting for me when I first started working at Disney, walking around the lot and seeing all these things that I recognized from all these movies and stuff. But yeah, Frank is always he's always just so interesting to work with, and easy and fun, and yeah, he's a good guy. He's a good guy.
Definitely.
Been the
He's one of the
best.
best. Yeah, definitely. I heard a
Um,
low rumbling sound. I just presumed that it was like an airplane or something taking off.
it is. It's El Segundo, baby. We're in the Gundo.
Oh, wait, I'm gonna have to check how many days because I'm just counting down the days until I come over. We're on 115 days, so we're not
Oh,
far off.
not far off. Well, yeah. It's interesting. Here's a very like this is Frank Welker in a nutshell. So,
Yeah.
as you know, Frank was also doing a lot of the other, like Frank started down this road of like the voice of, he's the voice of Abu in Aladdin.
Yeah, creature voices.
He's like Flit in Pocahontas and things
He's
like that.
Cricky in Mulan. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So he's doing sort of these creaturey things, and then I think he started to want to get a little further away from that and getting more into just more speaking characters. I wish I could remember what this movie was, but I remember I was it was a live action movie, and of course I always stay for the credits. I've taught
Yeah.
my friends that
Mhm.
stay for the credits.
Yeah.
Uh, and I'm looking at the credits, and what I thought was a dog in the movie, nope, it was Frank Welker. I'm not lying. His credit, it was like the dog, voice of the dog, like, but it was just a dog barking. Like you could have got a dog barking, but they got Frank instead, and it was really good. Anyway,
Yeah,
um,
that could have
so
been.
we were casting for something, and again, we needed that like creaturey voice. We wanted stuff,
Here it comes again.
and Frank reached out to me after I reached out to his agent. Frank reached out to me, said, "Hey, look, I really appreciate it. I'm trying to do a little less of this, but here's a guy that you should call. He's amazing, up and coming guy." And it was D. Bradley Baker. Uh, which was and I'd heard of I actually already worked with Dee prior to that, but of course he was right. But it was, I just thought that was so, instead of just saying no, he said no, but here's a guy I think you should hire, right? Here's a great guy. And
Yeah.
Dee and I have worked a bunch. Dee was on Shimmer and Shine, on the series Shimmer and Shine,
Yeah.
which
I
was
think
fun.
he's done a good few
Yes.
things as well. Yeah. So
Yeah,
yeah.
he's done a ton. Dee is hellaciously talented. You should interview Dee.
I really want to. I've been through his agent and they said I think he only does interviews for Disney or something, or only like proper official interviews. But this was years ago. I think I might reach
Oh
out to him
yeah,
because
no,
he
reach
has a
out.
website.
Well,
He has a
he's
website.
got a website which has been extremely helpful for all of us. Because as
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you probably know this, when you say to people, I could be in a room full of doctors, and if they say, "Hey, what do you do?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm a voiceover director." I've always wanted to do voiceover. Everyone's always told me I should do voiceover. It's unbelievable how many people have been told they should do voiceover. So they're like, any advice, like anybody who asks me, Dee put a site together that's called I Want to Be a Voice. Is it called I Want to Be a Voiceover?
I want to be a voice
I
actor.com.
want to be a voice actor.com. And it's fantastic because now all we have to do when anybody asks goes, "Hey, just go to this site and you'll learn everything." And it's great.
Yeah.
He monitors it. He asks, he answers questions that people have. He's done a really great job with it. It's a really, really great site. But I know you can reach out to him through that directly,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
I'll
ask him.
try that. I'll
Yeah,
try
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Do that.
He's a good guy. He's a really good guy. I mean, he's a busy guy, so I get that.
Yeah.
But I can't speak for him. But yes.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, honestly, just wow. I'm in awe. I'm in awe, Douglas. Wow. Um, all right, I've got to ask real quick. Is there any celebrities that you've worked with who aren't voice actors, but like are celebrities who have provided celebrity voices for a game that you've just been knocked out by, like in awe of working with
Yeah,
on a regular basis?
there's definitely been a few. I don't know if you knew this. If you look at my credits, there's a credit there for it's called "Here We Are: Notes for Living on Planet Earth." Have you seen that?
I
It's an
think so.
animated short that's on Apple TV Plus that you can watch. It's
Okay.
one of the things I'm the most proud of. So I was a voiceover director for this,
Mm-hmm.
um, but one of the actors in it was an actor named Meryl Streep.
Meryl Streep. Oh my
Right?
gosh.
Yeah, and so of course, you're the director. She's going to be in it. You're like, I'm going to direct Meryl Streep? Like, really? Like, what am I going to tell her? Sorry, Meryl, that's not very good. Anyway, but she was so lovely, so collaborative. Like, I still was the director. She was, we worked together. It was just lovely, and it was very, and not surprising. I shouldn't say surprising, but you just never know, right? You never know what.
Mm.
Yeah, she was lovely. Ruth Nega was also in that, and she was phenomenal. Jacob Tremblay was in that.
That's so good.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and oh my God, and Chris O'Dowd. They were the four.
Oh, Christian Dowd, love him in the
Yeah,
IT
yeah,
crowd.
which was just amazing. But it's funny, because there's times where you find out, oh, we're getting this person for it, and you're so excited, and then sometimes it works out, and other times it doesn't.
Yeah.
One of the games I worked on was a game called Barnyard, which was for the animated. Barnyard was an animated film
Film
that
turned into a TV
Nickelodeon
show.
turned it. Yeah,
Yeah.
Nickelodeon turned it into a TV show. Well, you know all this stuff. Who am I
Yeah.
talking
I only know because
to?
Cam Clark voiced Freddy the Ferret.
Oh wow! So I'm actually trying to look up the credits right now because I'm going to blank on his name. But I remember it was the session that my wife was mad at me that I didn't invite her to because I think most women are in love with this man because he's Sam Elliott. Do you know the
Ah,
actor
right.
Sam Elliott? Yeah.
No. No.
If you look up Sam Elliott and you will go, oh yes, him.
Let's have a
You,
look.
you will know who this guy is. Uh,
He looks familiar. Where do I know him
yeah,
from? He's been
he's
in
just one of
something.
these guys. He's in everything, but just a class act. Great guy, collaborative. Made sure he got everybody's name who was in the room. Just very respectful. Um,
Yeah.
he was a really good guy. I worked on the Sopranos video game.
Oh,
Um, yeah, so way back, well, when this just I think the series was just going into maybe its last year. I think I'm trying to
yeah.
remember.
Because Robert
Yeah.
Costanzo was in that game and I had him on my show and he spoke about that.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah,
Um,
that was quite fun.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's right. Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. He was. Yeah, yeah, yeah. He was Bobby. Yeah. So James Gandolfini was in it. Michael Imperioli, Stephen Van Zandt, Tony Sirico, Robert Eiler, who played AJ the son. A few other folks from the movie, from the series, but Tony Sirico was just this great guy. I really liked him a lot. He was just this real guy, just yeah, he was awesome to work with. I'm trying to think who else has been. I've worked with so many, like, sort of, well, A/B list actors in terms of, and especially because you do a lot of projects where if you're doing the game based on the movie or whatever and you actually get them. I was supposed to get Alec Baldwin for a project once. And
Really?
yeah, I was going, it was a Cat in a Hat thing, and was going
Uh,
back and forth. Remember the movie they did? We were going back and forth with the agent, back and forth with the agent, and he's like, I don't know, I know he wants to do it, but we're trying to figure out this. It was a long weekend. My wife and I were going to drive to Vegas for the weekend. We're like, let's just go to Vegas. I think that was weekend actually. We were going to go camping out in the desert, then go to Vegas for a night or something. Anyway, we're driving. We're in my Jeep. We're driving out to Las Vegas. The phone rings. Hello. Hey, Douglas? Yeah. Hey, it's Alec Baldwin. I'm like, hi, Alec Baldwin. And it was very interesting because you never deal with them. You only deal with the agents back and forth. Anyways,
yeah.
he was just really great guy. He's like, look, I'm really sorry. I know we've been going back and forth. Just tell me a bit more about the project and maybe like how long do you have? Like how long can you wait? Because I've got this going on and this going on and this going on. And we just gabbed for a couple of minutes. I said, look, I understand completely if you can't do it, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, it was just very funny because I look at my wife, I'm like, he's calling me. Anyway, it's very funny. So yes, he's a nice guy. I never worked with him though. We couldn't put it together. He was in the middle of a bunch of things, but he was very nice. He was very nice.
Well, that's really lovely to
Um,
hear.
Gosh, I'm trying to remember. Like there's been so many. When we were doing the Saints Row franchise, there was a lot of obviously name actors that we brought in on that. Some of them were just great to work with. Shimmer and Shine
Yeah.
was when I did Shimmer and Shine, we had, well, I sent you that picture. That was Barbara Eden, and somebody at
Yeah.
Nickelodeon geniusly cast her as a genie in Shimmer and Shine, right? And she was that was same, one of those same days, right? I mean, I watched I Dream of Jeannie, who didn't, right? And there was Barbara Eden, and she was just lovely, lovely, lovely. And her manager was there. Her manager took that great picture, which
Oh, nice.
I love that picture. It's me directing and somebody in the booth, right? So
Mhm.
yeah, she was lovely. Megan Hilty did an episode of that series.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she was great. And I'm a huge musical theater fan. So I had seen Megan actually in Wicked on Broadway. So she was great. But Tanya Gennady was in. That's where I really got to know Tanya
Oh,
Gennady.
really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Tanya was
wow.
one of our reoccurring, oh gosh, sorry, Tanya. I can't remember the character. There were so many genies. But I love Tanya Gennady. Like, I love Tanya. She is so talented and fun. And she
Princess
always,
Adara.
what was it?
Princess Adara.
Oh, yeah. Okay, there we go. She always brought me plantain chips every time she had a session. I love plantain chips. So she always would bring me plantain chips. But yeah, I love Tanya. She's got such great energy and she's so good and funny. And anyways, all those people that are just awesome. But
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, I'm trying to think. I'm actually I'm going through my own list here to see who I might have worked with. But
If not, that's okay. That's okay. You've have
yeah.
worked with some really good people there.
Yeah, no, it's been, it's mostly good. Every once in a while, there's a story, I don't like to tell tales out of school, but every once in a while, you have an experience that's
You
not
get the
great
bad apples.
with
Yeah.
a celebrity. Well, somebody who just, you know, I always find the really, truly talented ones, if they're really talented, they usually don't have to jump around and yell at everybody and make them feel bad about themselves because they have
Yeah.
pride and they're just good, talented working actors. So yeah, it's been pretty good. I've had some really great experiences with people. Actually, another actress that was in Shimmer and Shine, who I worked with before, anyways, Lacey Chabert.
Oh
From
yeah, yeah.
Green Girl. Yeah, Lacey. Lacey is literally probably one of the nicest human beings anyway, but definitely probably one of the nicest human beings in this industry. She's just lovely, talented as anything. Yeah, everybody loves Lacey. She's just a great. They actually just shot. I don't know if you've seen it. They just did like a Mean Girls Walmart campaign.
I think so.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
brought three of them back, and ironically, they shot it at the high school that my girls go to in El Segundo, because this high school is,
Wow.
well, it's this perfect American high school, right, with the bell tower, and so they're always shooting movies there. But yeah, they shot it down there. But yeah, so they brought back three of the four originals to play their characters again in an update
Wow.
that's running now. But yeah, so yeah, it's been it's fun. Yeah, it's funny because again, looking at where I started out, and especially because I started out in theater, and then I was thinking I was going to go into film and TV, and then I somehow just ended up in voiceover. But it's been so thoroughly enjoyable, mainly because of all the interesting people you get to work with. I mean, the projects themselves as well. But I always found that voiceover actors, I think maybe because they were less in the public eye, they were less, they could go to a grocery store and not be accosted. They could, so it's just a really nice community of people who all like working with each other, and it's a lot more laid back, and it's not as tense as some film shoots can be, or TV shoots, because there's so much money involved and time and money. Like, we gotta go.
Yeah.
Voiceover is just a much more relaxed, a relaxed part of the industry for the most part, I think, because you don't have those huge things at stake at times. But yeah, so it's been really enjoyable. Yeah.
That's great to hear. Well, Douglas, I have got a few more questions, but I posted on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, but I call it Twitter. I asked, look, I'm talking to Douglas Carrigan. Has anyone got any questions? I got 7 responses, so I thought I might as well ask you 7 questions from 7 people on the internet.
Please do.
Okay, well, got the thread open on my phone. The first one is kind of similar to another question on the thread, so I'll kind of ask them at the same time. So it says, For Transformers Devastation, what was it like working with some of the G1 voice actors, which is sort of similar to another question, which I think will kind of blend into it. But of course, for Transformers Devastation, you got back Frank, Peter, Michael Bell, Dan Gilvezan, Greg Berger, and I think that's it. I think.
Yeah, I think after that we had to do some sound alikes.
Yeah.
I can't remember if Jameson Price was in the original one or not.
I can't remember.
Peter Cullen, of course, was in that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean it like obviously, very exciting to get that team of people back together. And some of these guys obviously I'd worked with before. I worked with Frank, I worked with Greg Berger a lot. I worked with Michael a bit as well. Who else? I'm trying to think, but it was the first time I got to work with Peter Cullen, and I have to admit, like the first time Peter Cullen opens his mouth as Optimus, you're just like, oh, like you're just like, okay, I'm done. That's good. Yeah,
Call it a day.
Yeah, you're like, what am I going to do? Say, sorry, Peter, that wasn't very good. Let's do it again, right? It was like, yeah. Yeah. So it's very exciting, and it's funny because you do realize, even if it's something, I mean, I love Transformers, but I also understand that there's people out there, and I do this a lot. I'll be in a room with these people. I'm like, I know people who would kill to be in this room right now. I'm aware of how blessed I am to be in this room right now.
Yeah.
I am, because I know the amount of people who line up at Comic-Con just to get a 5-second moment with this person to sign their picture or something, so yeah, it's always quite amazing to be able to do a project like that, and especially with that kind of cast. Yeah, very exciting.
Yeah, that kind of relates to another question.
Real quick, Scott White, who plays Starscream.
Scott White, yeah.
His sound alike is unbelievable how good Scott is as Starscream. Like it's just just bang on, very, very talented guy. Anyway, just get that in there.
That's okay. It's kind of relating to another question on the thread, which says, what was it like having to direct 3 voice acting titans, Peter Cullen, Frank Welker, and Greg Berger? But that pretty much answered it.
Yeah, I mean that's it. And especially because they're such good guys anyway, right? So it thoroughly enjoy it. Yeah.
That's wonderful to hear. Another question on this thread says, was there any pressure trying to recreate the feel and vibe of G1 Transformers?
Well, I mean, always yes, up to a point, but you also have to recognize, and everything evolves, right? Like anything you're working on that's later than the original, you have to just accept this is a different incarnation or an evolved incarnation. But you're also very aware of what's been established, and you want to make sure that you aren't going, off the rails with something and taking it into a brand new direction that people aren't gonna want. So yeah. There's always going to be that pressure to I mean, but it's a good pressure. It's a positive pressure, right? Because it keeps you on the straight and narrow. You understand that this is a franchise that's been established. You want to take it to its next level, but you also want to make sure that you are, keeping it rooted in where it was based. So yeah.
Yeah. Definitely, yeah. And the other questions are mainly revolved around Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl. Now, I'm not sure if there's some of these you can answer or not, but we'll give it a go. One of the questions says, are there plans for more DLC once the current season pass ends? If it makes it easier for you, do you plan to record any more characters for it?
Yeah, that I don't know, and even if I did, I wouldn't unfortunately
NDA.
Right.
Oh, yes. Corey out there. And also because the strikes are over now, aren't they? The SAG-AFTRA strikes.
Well, so the SAG-AFTRA strike, yeah. So that strike specifically was the AMPTP, which is the film and TV. So we've been, video games have been continuing, although we are in negotiations right now in video games. But video games were not affected at all by that. And in fact, a lot of things, right? Commercials still went on, non-broadcast stuff, sound recordings, things like that. But yes, that one is over. So hopefully we'll have some some labor peace for a while, I hope.
Great, great. Another question is, how hard was it in Nick All-Star Brawl to direct voices that weren't necessarily the original voice actors? Example being Jim Meskimen for Tim Curry as Nigel Thornberry.
Yeah, well, that's actually, it's funny. It's become, I mean, I hope this doesn't sound too conceited or anything, but it's become kind of one of my specialties is that, and this started, I think it started because of my days at Disney, because obviously when you look at the films that Disney was making, the animated features starring, A-list actor, A-list actor, A-list actor. And then you're like, hey, you want to do some games? Like, no, I don't. I'm too busy. Right away,
that's not in my contract.
Yeah, well, that's it. So the very first thing you're doing is casting an official sound alike for for a character. So that kind of came into my wheelhouse. And I'm really like my ear, especially. I'm really, really particular about sound alikes. I don't just want somebody who's like, yeah, that kind of sounds like him, and that's good, because you want that actor to not just sound like the character. You need to embody that character. Like, it can't just be a Tim Curry sound alike. It has to be a Nigel Thornberry sound alike.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of things about, because I did that quite a bit, as you know, with Avatar: The Last Airbender. Nickelodeon has been recasting a lot of those characters. To be more. Each tribe has an ethnic base, and they're trying to really open up the casting to be much more diverse and much more correct.
Yeah.
So we had a lot of sound alikes, especially for the Avatar stuff.
Yeah.
And again, same thing. It's like, you're not just Aang. Like, who is Aang, and who is Toph, and who is Korra, and so you really need to know who these characters are, so you can keep these voices on that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because there's another reason for sound alikes, because the original voice actors, hit puberty and stuff, because Aang, I think, is in one of the Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl games. Obviously his original voice actor, Zach Einstein, has hit puberty, so he obviously doesn't sound like a little boy anymore, so you need to bring in a boy who sounds pretty much similar to his take on Aang, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, that's it. And that's the challenge with especially with with animation, especially. The reason they cast Bart Simpson as a grown-up woman was because we had to recast Bart Simpson again, right? Which is amazing, right? So, but when you really want those authentic kid voices, you have to know, I'm going to get 2 or 3 years out of this voice if I'm lucky, right? And then I'm going to have to recast, and that's been a challenge, I think, for many people, obviously, on any animated series or video game franchise, right? Same thing. So it's a challenge, obviously, and you expect that the actor is going to have done all of their homework. I mean, that's one thing I do expect of an actor. If you're coming in as a sound alike, I hope you watch the 5 seasons of Avatar, because that's what you need to do to really know who this character is, right? 4, was it 4 or 5? 4? How many seasons of Avatar?
I don't know. I've never seen Avatar.
Oh, you'd love it. It's a fantastic Avatar and Korra. I absolutely loved. I loved Avatar: The Last Airbender, yeah, and Korra, Legend of Korra. But so you really do. It's that extra work. It's like, this is what's right for the game, blah blah blah. But also, don't forget, Aang would never do this, or would respond more like this, right? So you're constantly, you're sort of directing 4 things at once, right? But that that's, like I said, that's one of the things that I feel I do best.
Yeah. And there's one thing I do love in Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl, the fact that all the voice lines are on YouTube, because obviously I think people can just extract them from like the game files, and stuff like that. That's what people tend to do. A lot of the characters have about 3 minutes worth of dialogue. Frank Welker's Garfield has 6 minutes of dialogue.
Well, Garfield speaks slowly too, right?
Yeah, and it has all these variants of yawns and getting hit sounds and snoring sounds and all these little cat sounds that you do. And you're just thinking, to be in that session with you was probably just wow.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, it's fun. And Frank also, because, and especially any of the actors who had been doing these characters for a while, who really know them,
Yeah.
They typically, because voiceover actors are very giving, and they're like, okay, by the way, we're done, but don't forget, like my character always used to say this and say things like this and throw out this catchphrase. So they'd always just roll a bank of extra stuff at the end too, just even stuff that we hadn't asked for, right?
Yeah.
And Frank is the king of that. Frank is always willing to just give you as much as possible. So yeah, he was very thorough. So
oh, that's really sweet. The final question that I got on this thread, the seventh question is why did Nick All-Star Brawl originally didn't have voice acting before it was eventually added as an add-on? If you know that. If you don't know that, that's okay.
I actually don't. And it's really funny because my nephew, who knows I do a lot of stuff for Nickelodeon, had sent me to the game when it was released. He's like, did you work on this? And I was like, no, why didn't I work on this? What is that? And then anyway, and then I realized, oh yeah, no, I had heard this was the one that they talked about. Not, I don't know. I mean, I honestly don't know. I mean, Game Mill, they're great. It's a great group. I really like working with these guys. I don't know. It might have been a budget thing. It might have been, but it's certainly taken off. And I do know, especially on Nick Brawl 2, I think IGN gave it an 8 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10. Was it a 9 out of 10?
Yeah.
It's a really high review. So people seem to be really loving it. And that's it. Game Reel has really grown with it. Like they took a lot of feedback from the first one and they did a lot with this second one. There's more of a plot, right, with the clockwork and the all of that. But yeah. So I don't know exactly, but it's usually always budget, right? It's usually always budget.
Right? Yeah, definitely. Actually, I just realized I didn't even ask you this. How did VoiceWorks? How did VoiceWorks form? How did you come together as like make your own company after you started voice directing? Were you a freelancer? How'd that happen?
Yeah, so the great question. I like I said, I ended up at Walt Disney Studios, and I was working at Disney Character Voices, and so Disney Character Voices obviously would only work on things that had Disney character voices in them, right? That was their. But there was more and more companies that were coming in saying, oh, this is great because you guys do everything for us. You cast, you direct, you edit, you name, you do everything. But oh, if only there was somebody on the outside who did that, because we've got all these other projects we do that don't involve Disney voices. And, and I just kept hearing this. And I don't know, I've always been that guy I've always just sort of done things for myself. Even when I started out as an actor, I didn't sit around going, oh, I've got an agent. Good. I'll just wait for them to call. I was always doing something to try to get myself out there, so I'm just that guy. I always want to make my work. I don't want to wait around and have other people give me my work. And working at Disney for the rest of my life might not have been a bad thing, but I just wanted to do something different and run my own show. So I thought, well, I've got this very unique set of skills now. I'm going to just take that on the road. So I went out and I started reaching out to other companies for other projects. And of course, Nickelodeon was one of the first companies I reached out to, which made perfect sense. And I just formed this company. And so that was it. It was like, look, we do everything for you, right? You have a game that needs to be cast. We'll cast it. We'll direct it, we'll record it, we'll edit and name the audio and send it back to you, and then you guys take it from there, and we do everything. And also I just hire myself out as a voice director. And I work on animated series as well. I had the Shimmer and Shine. I had Bossy Bear, which is out now on Nickelodeon. I'm working on another one right now, an untitled animated series that I'm directing as well. And I'm always still, because I do, as much as I love doing the games, I do love the series as well. I love, because I'm a director, right? I mean, I like meaty stuff. I like, scenes and back and forth and having a group of actors in the booth all playing off each other. Over COVID, I think I worked on probably about 3 or 4 different animated pilots.
Wow.
That may or may not come out. Who knows? We'll see. But yeah, so it's sort of that whole thing. But yeah, so that's where VoiceWorks came from, and then we've just evolved from there, and now this company has been running for 22 years, over 22 years.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm pretty proud of it. I've had, I am, and I think we've done some good work, and I think hopefully we have a good name that's out there, and people trust us, and I try to make things simple. Things should be simple, right? I don't like when people make things more difficult than they should be, right? It's simple.
Yeah.
We can do this for you. We can take care of it. Give you guys something really great. And hopefully you'll
Yeah.
come back, right? That's our motto.
Yeah. Very good motto. You should have it on your email signature. Just when you send out emails and stuff, just voice work, and then just that little motto. Douglas, I'm gonna ask you the big question now. So this is like I ask a big question, at the end of all of my interviews. And it's maybe something I want to know, my audience wants to know, or neither of us want to know, and I just ask it for the shits and giggles. So
all right.
My big question to you is, do you prefer voice acting? Voice acting? No, scrap that. Do you prefer voice directing for video games or TV? Which do you think is easier? Which do you prefer for cartoons, or animated shows, or video games?
I have to be honest, I prefer it for TV. I prefer it for animation. And I think simply because of the linear nature of it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's some great stuff in games, there's some great cinematic stuff. But then you just get into the 400 lines of, ouch, that's not my leg, and all of these things, right?
My leg.
Which is fun, and the oohs and ahs and all that. But
Yeah.
I think especially as a director, because I love pulling something together and really making,
Yeah.
I love working with actors, and I love that whole process. So for me, yeah, I think it's the animated series, and even or a feature or something like that. It's putting all of that together. I really enjoy that process a lot.
Sweet. And yeah, you did work on a few SpongeBob projects as well. So just real quick, what was it like to work with the cast of SpongeBob?
Oh, it's funny. I've been working with those guys now since I started the company. So we've been all working together for like 20 some odd years. They're awesome. It's such a great group. So much fun, all very talented people, but, yeah, it's been pretty amazing. Like, again, it's like one of those series, like, how is this? Not how, because I know how, because it's amazing, but like, how lucky that this thing has lasted for as long as it has, this
Yeah.
series and the movies and everything else. And yeah, I literally just worked with them on another project just not about 4 weeks ago.
Oh, wow. Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That sounds like fun. All right. So, Douglas, thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming on my show and talking about all the craft of voice direction and just all the wonderful people that you've worked with. Just thank you. Thank you so much for being here today.
Well, thank you, Amber. Real pleasure. I really enjoyed it. You are a wealth of knowledge. I'm very impressed.
Thank you. And you are a really talented voice director. Honestly, you've worked with a lot of my favorite people, so I automatically admire you.
Thanks.
Where can we find you on the internet? Have you got a
So
website?
I am so not. I'm an old-fashioned guy. I'm not a social media guy. You can go to our website, voiceworksproductions.com, and you can reach out to me through that if you want to. There's an info at. Other than that, I'm on LinkedIn, and that's about it. Yeah, I'm so not a social media guy. I'm just kind of stick to my sessions and my work. But
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
Sweet. Well, I'll get that linked in the description. And to you at home, thank you so much for watching this episode of In Conversation with ATF featuring the lovely Douglas Carrigan. It's been such an honor to speak to him, and I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as I did filming it. So take care, stay safe, stay happy. Thank you for watching. We'll see you around. Bye, everyone. And cut.